Hi there, Leo. Thank you for joining me for your monthly forecast for March. A month which begins with two key personal planets located in your sector of relationships, Mercury and Venus, though Mercury will soon move. But I think your relationships, particularly those of a more pleasurable kind, are going to come very much under the astral microscope this month. On the very first day of this month, there is a quarter moon. And if there are any politics washing round an involvement, especially a romantic one, the chances are they're going to show themselves in the first few days of this new month. March moves on the 5th, and it's asking you to penetrate beneath the surface to understand what some of this may mean. Is there some jealousy? Is there some control around your desire to play and to be involved with whom you want or spend money as you want? Or is it someone else you're involved with who you feel is being a bit reckless, taking risks, when you see it as being much better to be cautious, particularly around shared finances? However, the great news this month is the arrival on the 6th of Mars. Mars moves into Sagittarius too, but in this location through to the end of May, it's going to really fire you up and give you a lot more enthusiasm. It's also going to do wonders for your sex appeal as well. And it's really handy because Saturn, the planet of restriction, has broadly been in this area for the last 7 of the last 13 months. The implication of Saturn being in that area is that you've probably had to work very hard around any personal expression. If there are relationships in your situation with children or a partner, well, again, this may take much more application. You can't just take people or situations for granted. But what Mars is going to do is give you a lot more energy. But of course, the big talking point this month is the solar eclipse. The first, on the 9th, is followed on the 23rd by the lunar eclipse. But on the 9th, this is also going to be in opposition to Jupiter. Jupiter's about expansion, although it's not at its best in Virgo. But in this particular opposition, if you splash money out without thinking about the consequences, Saturn is parked on the other side of the heavens despite the new arrival of Mars to remind you of any unnecessary expense or wastefulness is something that you're going to end up regretting. So if you do find yourself feeling particularly impulsive in the early parts of this month, try to slow your decision making down. Also, Mercury is going to be merging with Neptune in a very unhelpful way between the 9th and the 12th. And it's possible that you can find yourself getting a bit confused and unsure as what to do. If you're trying to do a deal, process any property matters, it's vital that your facts and figures are very clear and bang up to date. Don't rely on anyone else's viewpoints. If there is someone around you who's trying to big up a get-rich-quick scheme, be very, very sceptical about the potential for this. However, on the 12th, Venus does move into your 8th solar house as well, and this is going to be a very exciting influence in the following 28 days. It's possible that you will find yourself strongly drawn towards someone, Leo, but you need to ask yourself whether this person would be really the right kind of match for you in any other way other than a physical attraction. Venus can certainly be a very sensual influence in the 8th solar house, and it can be very helpful financially as well. But with the limitations coming from that solar eclipse, do proceed with caution. The solar eclipse also links into the lunar eclipse of the 23rd, which is in a much more intellectual part of your scope. So it's basically saying to you over the next half year that the way in which you make close commitments to people or situations or invest your time and energy, you must think through very clearly. It's going to be possible that your heartstrings will be more easily pulled upon than usual, and that could make you rather more subjective. However, the arrival on the 20th of the Sun in your sister fire sign of Aries is a really good news story. This is going to give you much more energy, and all this clinging, cloying politics that's been washing around at the start of the month can dissipate even more once Mercury joins up with the Sun on the 22nd. It is true that there is that lunar eclipse, in Libra, on the 23rd. And for you, this is all about making sure that your communication is crystal clear. Going back to those facts and figures again, really take the time to read the small print. If you're traveling anywhere or hope to widen your horizons, again, don't be too gung-ho about things, although this lunar eclipse is well supported by Mars. And if you make the right connections with the right people, learning new skills or imparting talents of yours can help your financial situation as the months go by. It's also true to say that as this month comes to a close, Uranus is going to be forging a fine link with Mercury. This pushes you to try and go outside your comfort zone. Being a fixed sign, sometimes you stay with what you know best. So if you do have an opportunity to do something completely spontaneously, go for it. You never know where it may lead. Uranus has also been in a very difficult angle, a right angle, broadly, with Pluto over the last 4 years or so. And by the end of this month, they are going to start to prise apart. And in the early parts of April, I do feel the constant clash between Venus, Aries, your ruler, on the 12th, and that is going to help you to relate to other people in a more efficient way. Venus is kind of okay in Pisces, and here she's really asking you to show that little bit of willingness, that little bit of sacrifice, because it can come back to you. But here too, from the 19th to the 23rd, Venus goes across Neptune, and around a relationship, you're going to want to feel that a partner makes the same kind of contribution and commitment as you. If they're sort of hanging back and being a bit evasive, you might think very carefully about whether you want to continue it. And this theme of relationships becomes a lot stronger from the 20th, the 22nd and the 23rd, when the Sun, Mercury and the lunar eclipse all come through in your sector of relating in terms of the Sun and Mercury, and then your unhappiness around any relationships will become much clearer from the 23rd. Don't be too quick to make any decisions. There's an impetuous link between Uranus and Mercury in the last few days of this month, which could see you make some snap decisions or meet someone who really sweeps you off your feet because they're just great fun to be with. And what I will tell you, and this is fantastic news, is that although Saturn does go into a retrograde on the 26th, which may mean you need to get your car serviced, think very carefully about all forms of domestic devices which could prove rather unreliable. There is a link between Uranus and Pluto which has caused particular mischief for Libras over the last 4 years, where an uncertainty around relationships has left you on edge so much of the time. Well, that's beginning to fade out as this month comes to a close, and that's something to truly celebrate. And ironically, Saturn actually makes a great link with Uranus pretty well for the whole of this month, which just says to you, if you're thinking very carefully about the people you can relate well to, the people who understand your values, there is the chance to reform your relationships. But you need to be with people who feed your soul and who practically you can relate to. And with Jupiter squaring up with Saturn all this month, there could be times when you're surprised at the lack of trustfulness or security that does exist around some involvements you have. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.